What's going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of Get It Bucket Podcast with me, your host, Chris LeBron. As always, I am joined by my guy, Kev. Kev, what's going on, bro?
Man, I'm good. I'm hella excited to be back. My Rams about to play in a minute, but I'm glad to be talking college hoops, bro. The season has been amazing, and man, I'm ready to dive into it. I can't complain. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. I'm enjoying, football too. My team's not in the playoffs. We weren't even close to being in the playoffs, but the Cowboys are getting their ass whooped. So that's a beautiful thing, being a
Yep.
Giants fan and all that. They just, they're making it look a little closer right now, but they got mollywop, and shout out to our guy Mo. Sorry, bro. Sorry. Ken too, man. Ken was talking a little talk too, So
That'll be all right.
sorry about your boys and all that. Shout out to our guy Pablo. Yeah, we're gonna be talking some stuff. We talking some stuff today and all that.
My dog.
We gotta let the Cowboys fans know that it's the same, new year, same thing as always. New year, same shit and all that. But Kev, it's been a little bit, I got my voice back. I lost my voice, got sick, holidays and all that, but we back. We're going to be ramping up some new shows. March is almost here, so we're going to get kicked off and all that. But we're going to start with a little bit, some recruiting stuff and all that. VJ Edgecombe, Long Island Lutheran, top 5 recruit, has dwindled his teams down to Duke and Baylor. Those are his 2 teams that he is going to choose from. I think this week, right? I believe this week.
I want to say today.
Today? Is it today? Or
I want to say he's winning that hoop. I could be wrong. I'm about to see right now.
But he's picking soon. That's all we know. He is picking a squad soon and all that. So, like I said, it's coming down to Baylor and Duke. It's today. Pablo just said it is today. So, I don't know exactly the time and all that, but he will be choosing his school today. Kev, where's VJ going?
Honestly, I don't know. Like this is the one.
I don't know. I obviously I hope it is Duke, but it could be Baylor because we know they got Cooper there, got Cooper Flag running, and Duke's got a lot of nice recruiting class coming in. So it sounds like it could be, but we just don't know with recruiting and all that, and what Baylor's offering over there too, and all that. So what's your gut telling you?
I'm thinking it's Duke, but I've heard a lot of traction towards Baylor recently. But
I've heard that too, man. I've heard it
I'm gonna just say Duke because Duke is always a safe bet in situations like this. But I can see him going to Baylor too, just because you got to look at Scott Drew the past few years. He usually always gets one highly ranked prospect. This year's Jacoby Walter. Last year was Keontae George. Like they usually always have one, right? So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. But I mean, Duke is loaded too, right? Who wouldn't want to play with Cooper Flag, Darren Harris, Isaiah Evans? All those guys are going to have over there. So. I mean, the opportunity is probably better at Baylor if we're just talking from a certain, just from his perspective, right? But I mean, going to Duke and just playing a solid role, we've seen it happen time and time again. You can still get to the NBA that way too. So I don't know, and I'm kind of glad that I don't know because I feel like when we know where a kid is going to go before he decides, I think that kind of ruins the aura around it.
Really
Like
does.
I missed it. I missed the days when we didn't know, right? When it was just like we didn't know until the very last second. So. Wherever he goes, best of luck to him. He's a hell of a player. He's been one of my favorite players to watch out of that Long Island Lutheran program, which is a hell of a basketball program. So I'm looking forward to see where he ends up going, though.
Yeah, I remember writing an article about him for one of the sites I used to write for, and a couple years back, and being like, this dude. I remember telling you about him, like, yo, this kid out here that is a hooper, and it's crazy to see his rise. The last year and a half and all that. It's really been dope seeing it and all that, climbing from being in the hundreds to being in the 60s, 50s, now being a top 5 recruit. And now, we'll see if he's a Blue Devil and all that, I'm hoping. But like I said, I do like not knowing. Like, yeah, and it reminds me of when Zion, like, because people think that it was always Duke. It wasn't. It was Clint. It was.
Yeah,
from what I remember, it was Clemson. I didn't watch his when he was picking his school. I remember just being like, all right, we got Cam, we got RJ, Jones, we straight. And I remember just going about my day or whatever, and then just getting their alert and being like, he chose Duke. I was like, oh, like that happened. I was not expecting that, but so this kind of has a little bit of that. So because I see like a lot, like On 3 has Baylor like 98%. So, but we'll see. We'll see if his decision that Pablo just said he's going to make his decision at halftime today. So we'll see. So that's going to be some big news and all that. And when it drops, we'll talk about it more on the next episode and all that. But Kev, let's get into it. March is almost here. It's crazy to think, right? Like we're halfway through the first month of the year already. Like we're almost halfway through, and March is approaching. We kind of got a feel of what teams are looking like, what their identity is right now. So I'm gonna bring up some teams, and we're gonna talk about. Let's see. Oh, we got Pablo got something to say. Let's say all the predictions happened like yesterday. All them damn clowns had him going to Duke. Yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't know, because you hear Duke, but then I see On 3 and they got 96% to Baylor. But we'll see. We just gotta wait and see. That's the only thing we gotta wait and see what his decision is. Hopefully, Pablo, our Blue Devils, we land another monster, but we'll see and all that. But like we mentioned before, there's some teams that are fighting and that are kind of right now on the cusp of the bubble and all that. So I'm going to give you 4 teams and we're going to dive into them and all that. So Kev, like I said, 4 teams fighting for that March Madness. Let's go with a team that had some success today, Maryland. They're sitting right now at 11-6, 3-3 in Big Ten play. They had the win over Illinois, but we all know Terrence Shannon is out right now and all that. But so they had a couple close losses to Minnesota, Davidson, but some big losses, lost to Purdue by 14, Nova by 17 and all that. Maryland Terrapins right now, what is their March Madness? Where's their March Madness meter right now?
I'd say they're firmly out the tournament just because I hate to even say this too, because I like Kevin Willard, but I think he's one of them dudes where it was like he overachieved at Seton Hall. And I understand taking the job at Maryland. It's a much better opportunity. Nothing against Seton Hall. Shout out to Shaheen Holloway and Kadari Richmond, by the way, too. But at the same time, when you go from Seton Hall to Maryland, that expectation jump is humongous, right? Seton Hall is not really the same thing. They're just trying to get into the tournament here and there. But for Maryland, that's a program that a lot of people look at as a top-tier program in the country because of all the resources. You're in the DMV. You have all the top talent in the country for the most part. So I don't think they are, just because, I mean, right now their best win is the win that they had today. Earlier this morning, they went to Champaign and beat Illinois, a pretty good Illinois team. I know the whole Terrence Shannon thing's going on. We're not even going to talk about that, but that's their best win so far, right? And that's a really good win. But when you watch them play, it's really just Jameer Young.
It's rough. It's rough, nasty sometimes. They have one of the, I think they're kind of middle of the pack, like maybe in some offensive categories. They're at the end. They're at the bottom. It's especially 3-point shooting. I think they're damn near at the bottom. So sometimes their offense, and I remember someone was talking about, I was watching the podcast. They're like, yeah, man, that sometimes watching them on offense, it's nasty. And their defense has been really good this year, but that offense can be, like you said, they're relying so much on Jameer to take over. But I mean, it's sometimes it's rough to watch them play offense.
Yeah, and it's really just Jameer Young and Julian Reese, and then you sprinkle in some Dante Scott, who's been there for a whole bunch of years. But they need contributions out of those freshmen, Jamie Kaiser and Deshaun Harris-Smith, and they haven't really gotten that. They got a little today, which is good, especially on the road. That's how you build a freshman's confidence up. But just watching them is tough, man. I feel bad for Jameer Young, because you put Jameer Young in any other situation, he's probably in All-American talks right now, right?
Yeah.
Because he has to do so much, it's like, damn. So honestly, I think they're on the outside looking in. Can they build their resume? Of course, it's only January. You can't truly count out any team. Just for me personally, I don't trust them right now. And I think today was, a major win for them, and it could get things going in the right direction. But I'm going to say Maryland misses out on the tournament this year, as much as I hate to say it.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to need some more. They're going to have to show their offense is definitely going to be more improved. But I think it is what it is. I don't see it getting much better. I mean, like I said, they're shooting, it's cost them a few games. It's definitely cost them a few games. And that might be the difference between, I remember watching the Nova game Kev, that shit was
Rough,
nasty. That was
rough.
nasty. They scored
Yeah,
40 points.
in a
That
40
was
minute game.
nasty. Yeah, it's a 40-minute game. You mean you scored 1 point per minute?
Nasty.
That's nasty work, and I think their offense is going to be the reason why they are going to miss March, but they still got it defensively. Like I said, they are really good defensively and all that. Like I said, Reese and Young, they got two guys who can hoop and all that. Like I said, Dante Scott, he's actually been there by far the best 3-point shooter this year, but everybody else just can't hit nothing. They can't hit the ocean right now, and that's probably going to be what's going to hurt them. Their chances are going to March, but they got to figure out that shoot and all that. But yeah, they had a good win today, like I said, versus Illinois. There was no Terrence Shannon, as we know, but got to pick up wins. They got Northwestern next, Michigan State, Iowa, Nebraska, Michigan State again. Got to pick up some wins if they want to have a shot at getting March. All right, next team, the Butler Bulldogs and all that. The Butler, they got a good win against Marquette, but another team, some close losses, losses to St. John's, Providence, FAU, and your Spartans and all that. The Butler, they're 11-6, 2-4 in Big East play, but we know Big East is 2-4 in the Big East is, that's not that bad, especially some of the losses they've had and all that. So the Butler Bulldogs, Coach Thad Matta, March Madness bound right now, or how much more work do they need?
I think they're going to squeeze in. I really do. I feel like, and shout out to Thad Matta, because I wasn't really a fan of him taking this job just because he was dealing with the health concerns after he left Ohio State. He's kind of up in age. When he left Ohio State, the landscape of college basketball and college sports in general was nowhere near what it is right now. But they're hooping. Posh Alexander, your boy from out there in New York, was at St. John's, of course, doing his thing. Shout out to Pierre Brooks. He was at Michigan State for a few years. He's doing his thing now. And they got a couple other guys. They still got Jalen Graham, who came over from Georgia State last year. And they're playing really good basketball, right? They lost a tough one yesterday versus Seton Hall. Again, Seton Hall's been hooping, but I really like this team. I think that win versus Boise State, they won by 14 against Boise State. I think that game's going to age really good because Boise State, to me, they played a really tough non-conference, but I think in the Mountain West, they're going to make a lot of noise, and I think they'll be a tournament team themselves. But for Butler, again, I think they'll squeeze in just because the Big East is really good. They're going to have plenty of opportunities, and I think they'll be right there in the end, to be honest. I think they're only getting better, and they only will get better as the season keeps going on.
No, I agree. They had a tough loss, like a few weeks back when they played Providence and lost an OT. That was a tough loss and all that, but good win against Marquette. Even though Marquette seems to be, going through a little bit, a little bit of a funk right now, but I mean, that Seton Hall loss, they should have had that. That's a game they probably look back and be like, damn, and even like a close loss to UConn and all that. But it's a program that we were trying to figure out last year. Like, all right, Dad, it's been a minute since he's been in college. Like you said, college is different, has been a very different since the last time he coached and all that. But he's shown that he can still coach at a very high level and has this team like just solid. Just a solid basketball team right now and all that. So Butler is definitely doing some really good things right now, and a tough Big East. The Big East, we always talk about that. Like it's a dog fight in the Big East, and they're 2-4 in the Big East. But I mean, you could still be under 500 in the Big East, and I think depending on who you beat, you can still get in the tourney. So, I think Butler has a shot. I definitely think they have a shot and all that. Let's talk about the next team, Georgia, the Georgia Bulldogs, not the football team. Not the football team. We're talking about the basketball team, and we saw some flashes last year and all that, and we thought, okay, this could be a program that could be on the rise. And this year, they definitely have shown it. 12-4 right now, 2-1 in SEC play. Recent loss to Tennessee, but that was a game we talked about that, and we might have crowned them a little too quick in that game, because they looked like they had that in the bag, but don't connect. He
went crazy.
He went crazy. I think he had like 35. He
crazy,
took over. He showed why he's a he's a first round pick right now. Yeah, he is absolutely hooping. But before that, I think they won like 10 in a row or something like that. They were on the streak. Not a lot of great teams in there, but they beat Arkansas, who's struggling and all that. Georgia, I mean, they whooped Georgia. I mean, Duke can barely beat Georgia Tech, and they're out there. They whoop Georgia Tech. Their rivals and all that. But it just showing promise. They had some close losses first Miami and then Providence or Providence. So some close losses. And to Oregon too. So the Georgia Bulldogs, Kev. A team that's on the rise and all that, still trying to figure out, but defensively they are a solid group and all that. So how we feel about the Georgia Bulldogs? Are they right now? Are they dancing? Will they be dancing right now, or do they need some work?
I'm gonna say no, just like Maryland, just because I will say this before I actually talk about it, that out of all the teams, or excuse me, out of all the programs in the SEC, I think them and Missouri are trending in the right direction more than any other program currently, right? Mike White, I said a couple years ago, when he went from Florida to Georgia, that was a great move for him because just like with Kevin Willard, he went to a school the opposite way. He went from a school at Florida that had high expectations to Georgia where they just want some type of competitive basketball, right? And he's getting the recruits. He got Austin Noel at Montverde right now. He was in the mix to get Darion Reed before he committed to Alabama. So he's in the mix for these top tier recruits, and that's a hard thing to do when you're down there at Georgia. But the only reason I'm gonna say no is because, like you just mentioned, the top tier teams that they played, they lost those games. Their best win probably right now, I want to say, is Wake Forest, and Wake Forest is really good, by the way. But outside of that, your other opportunities, you didn't really capitalize on them. Just like if they would have beat Tennessee yesterday, I would have been like, maybe they would have been on track, but
that would have been
had that game. They were
that
on their home floor and they just kind of let it go. And again, Dalton Connect went absolutely ballistic in the last 5 minutes of that game. But I'm gonna say no. But again, I do think they're trending in the right direction. Remember the names Blue Kane and Silas Demery Jr. They're both freshmen, but they're going to be around that program for a minute, and they're going to make a lot of noise before they leave that program.
Yeah, like that. They need that Tennessee. That's a game you needed. You needed to win that game against a top 5 team in the country. That's a game you got to figure out. But they're still on the up and up the program, and hopefully they'll learn from that. And we'll see what happens for the rest of the season. But I think that was a win. They're gonna look back if they're on the bubble and they don't get in. They're gonna look back at the Tennessee game and be like, "Damn, that's the one we need to get." And if you want to be a tournament team, you got to win those games and all that. So, but Georgia on definitely a program on and up, and a program that we were very high on this season. We thought I think I had them win the SEC, and even having Wade Taylor win Player of the Year and all that, Texas A&M and all that. They've kind of been very up and down so far, but they had a big win versus very good Kentucky team and all that. And it wasn't overtime, but they still got the dub and all that. Texas A&M. Buzz, and this group just is very inconsistent this season, but I still believe in them. I still think that good things are on the horizon, and I think they will, end up being a tournament team because I just think they're that good, and they do have Wade Taylor, who is one of the best players in the SEC, but they have another team that is miserable from behind the 3-point line, like miserable, bottom whatever team, like they are the bottom of the bottom, and that has really hurt them a lot this year. So Texas A&M, can Buzz Williams and these boys get back on track and be going to March Madness?
I believe they are. And I think this win versus Kentucky yesterday, which was a great game, by the way, is going to propel them and start to get them some positive momentum that they've been desperately needing, right? Because they played good teams, right? They played Iowa State, they beat them. They played Florida Atlantic, they lost. They lost to Virginia, who is whatever. But they played Houston in a really good game, too. Lost that by 4. So they've been in the mix. The biggest issue with them is that they really can't beat you in a variety of different ways. They play one way, they crash the glass, and their offense is, of course, mostly structured around Wade Taylor the fourth, obviously, right? He's one of the best, like you just said, players and point guards in the country. So to me, I think they're going to get in just because they're in the SEC. They're going to have plenty of opportunities. The thing for them is you just can't afford to lose games where you're the better team. Like they lost to LSU. LSU might be a little bit better than we probably thought, but you can't lose that game. You just can't. You can't afford games like that. But again, they're going to have opportunities.
At home, too. Home loss to a team like LSU, that can't happen.
It just can't happen. It just cannot happen at all. And so again, your next few games, you go to Arkansas, you go to LSU, and then you're playing at home versus Missouri. Those are 3 winnable games, right? So I'm not too worried about them. Tyrese Radford is a stud. Henry Coleman is really good too. So they have players. It's just about putting it together, understanding, hey, we got to win in more ways than just relying on Wade Taylor the fourth. Because even when you go back to last year, right, they were really good last year. I think they finished second in the SEC after Bama. They lost to Penn State last year. It was no reason, as good as Penn State was under Micah Shrewsbury and Jalen Pickett, it was no reason for them to lose that game. But why? Because they can only play one way. And so this year's team has to learn we cannot just rely on Wade Taylor. We got to be able to win in different ways, whether it's rebounding, whether it's locking up, whatever the case may be. It's just about expanding how to close out games. And I think they're slowly but surely learning how to do that. So I'm going to say, yes, the Aggies will go dancing this year.
Yeah. And like I said, they got to close out games because they're having trouble playing some defense and shooting the 3 ball. So, they don't want to capitalize. The Auburn game is a game like, they could have had, if they just be able to hit a couple more shots and all that, but they weren't able to. So gotta fix they're another team. I don't know if they get the 3-point shooting can get better, but in order for them to be the team that we thought they were going to be, a potential Elite 8 type of team, they're gonna have to improve on that, So we'll see what happens. But I expect them to be, they lost to good teams too, But obviously you're gonna have to play good teams. You get to March, but they have lost to good teams. Not like they lost, Obviously the LSU loss is disappointing, but everyone else, those are probably teams that you're gonna be that'll be go dancing in March. So, but they gotta improve the shooting and all. But I think they'll figure it out and they will be in March and all. So those are the teams that we have. Are there any other teams that that are kind of on that bubble-ish right now that you want to talk about?
I'd say I don't even know, to be honest. I mean, like all the teams, but that's the thing though too, right? Is that we're still in January, right? So it is teams on the bubble, but it's still teams that are on the bubble that can get in. It's teams that are on the bubble that'll fall out. Like we really don't know. Like we'll talk about my team in a second. I think my team right now, if the tournament started today, I don't think we'd be in. If it was Selection Sunday, I don't think we'd be in, but we have opportunities still, right? So I'm not too worried about it, but that's the beauty of it, right? It's a long season. Conference play has just begun. Most teams have only played 4 conference games maximum, so now it's time to capitalize on that and start to get things rolling in the right direction. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I think the next time we do an episode, I'll be able to answer that question more clearly, but right now I just think it's kind of early. The reason I didn't believe in Maryland it's just because I just don't see it. Like I don't see where the vast improvements are gonna come from this team. And I can say the same thing for Georgia too, right? They're super reliant on their freshmen. And can they get better? Will they get better? Of course, but it's all about stacking wins. And right now, those 2 teams just kind of concern me when it comes to that. And Maryland, to be honest, again, their best win is Illinois. They have Illinois' number. I think I seen some stat today where Maryland's like 5-1 versus Brad Underwood, right? So I'm like, it's just a bad matchup. It's like when we play Northwestern, Boo Booey just kills us every time.
Georgia Tech, man, we could barely beat Georgia Tech.
Exactly. So it's always that one squad that just has your number, no matter how good or bad they are, and it's just like that sometimes. So I guess we'll see.
We will see. We will see. All right. Let's switch over. Let's go talk about an ACC team that struggled a lot last year after, being in the national championship and quite frankly should have won the national championship that year in the North Carolina Tar Heels. Things seem to be on the up and up for them ever since they lost to Kentucky. They haven't lost a game. They whooping teams and all that. Not great competition, but they're taking care of business. But it just looks like a different team. It looks like there's more cohesion with this team. Obviously, with Caleb Love, there was a lot of stuff going on with chemistry and all that. And it seems like this year, they're not perfect, but it definitely seems like there's a lot better chemistry and Hubie got this team, focused and all that. So for you, what have you seen from this North Carolina team that is a lot different from what we saw from last year's Carolina team?
First of all, I want to apologize to all the Tar Heel faithful out there because I doubted them, right? I'm still not a fan of Hubert Davis, but look, they're playing great basketball. And for most teams across the country, everybody's struggling to win on the road. Carolina has not had that problem. They went to Pitt, beat them. They went to Clemson, beat them, right? They're playing really well right now. And you got to give a whole bunch of credit to Hubert Davis. And I think the biggest thing is that I always say this for everybody else, but I kind of forgot this about him. I don't know why, but he's still learning as a coach, right? We said the same thing about John Shire the last time we spoke. He's still learning how to win games, how to play at a high level. And I think the biggest adjustment is a couple things from last year. One, they're actually playing really good defense this year. That's the main thing. Their defense is actually balling like crazy. Two, he's actually playing his bench. Last year, he did not play his bench at all. He rode his starters pause last year, and he just went until they got absolutely tired, right? This year, those dudes are actually getting minutes off the bench. And then three, I think this has been the best adjustment that he's made when it comes to separating himself from Roy Williams, is that their offense isn't being ran through the post anymore. And there's nothing against Armando Bacot, but giving RJ Davis the rock was the smartest thing he could have ever done. Because in today's game, as we always say, when March Madness hits, college basketball is a guards game. Guards run everything. And it's nothing against Armando Bacot, because Armando Bacot is a really good second, third, however you view him. But at the same time, we're seeing right now, RJ Davis is a first-team All-American candidate right now, the way that he's been playing.
Shooting 40% from three on a high clip, too.
He's hooping. So I'm like, that's the biggest thing for me. I think he just finally realized that, hey, like, yeah, playing through the post is cool, especially if that's your best player, but nothing against Armando. Again, I want to emphasize that. But RJ Davis is clearly their best player, and he's proven that right now. And you can't forget about the transfer additions of Cormac Ryan from Notre Dame and Harrison Ingram, right? I think having a big-time wing like that is a major X factor for them. So shout out to Carolina. They're locking in. They blew out Tennessee at the crib in a big-time win. Like, they're stacking up really good wins. And honestly, I would not be surprised if come Selection Sunday, they're a number 1 seed.
Yeah, like you said, man, it just feels like they got the right group. I think you say Hubie's figured it out. You know, I think we part a little pressure because it is North Carolina, and they were, you know, his first year he goes to the national championship. You know, and a couple possessions here and there, and they're national champions. So, you know, obviously last year was not what we expected, but you know he figured it out and got a nice group. Like you said, playing outside in more. Harrison Ingram, getting Harrison Ingram. That's that's definitely one of the best transfers, you know, of the year. You know, he's shooting at a high clip. RJ Davis shooting over 40% from three. You know, so it's no more. They're not just relying on Armando to just take over, which is, you see a lot of teams who have these bigs. You know, Purdue, why they went one and done. You know, and this, do we worry about teams like that? You know, Hunter Dickinson when he was in Michigan and all that, they were getting bounced. You know, and we'll see what happens with them because they're another team, and we'll probably get into the next show and all that. But you know, they're another team that, you know, ups and downs and all that, and then what's their identity and all that. But it seems like Carolina figures their identity and all that. They play great defense. They lock you up and all that. So, you know, right now I think they're definitely the best team in the ACC right now. You know, they haven't played Duke yet, so we'll see how that goes around. But they are definitely playing good. They absolutely dismantled Syracuse. That was just like that was an ass whooping. That was an ass whooping and all that. I know Syracuse is, you know, not an up and down team, you know, but you know, established dominance on them. You know, that was an old fashioned ball, and where that may have been a game they lose last year because there's just no identity. Everybody's trying to look for their own. Playing a lot more team. They got guys who just know their roles and all. Like I say, utilizing the bench more. Bench has been really good and all that. You know, getting a lot of production. You know, so Trimble with us, they're all hooping right now. They just, I hate to say that too, because I'm like, oh man, this Carolina team is like, you know, they are well balanced. You know, and it got me a little worried when it's time for Duke Carolina and all that, because they are a very balanced team. They have multiple guys. You know, Ellie Cadeau too. We don't talk about him. They're freshmen. Yep. You know, he can hoop and all that. So like, this Carolina team, they're rolling right now. They're playing good basketball. You know, they had those 2 losses where they lost to UConn and
Kentucky.
You know, like I said, the last loss was against Kentucky. You know, and they've been hooping since. You know, so they should take care of business in the ACC. They should have no more than a couple of losses in the ACC play. And like I said, you know, depending with doing the AC tournament, they should be at worst a 2 seed. Right now, that's what they're looking like, and so they definitely are doing good and all that. So, talk about another team, the defending national champions. They're looking good and all that, but Clingan has been battling the foot. He had the foot injury before the season, and I thought that could be a little worrisome because you know how bigs and those things linger. Well, guess what? It's lingering. Now they have a well-balanced machine and all that they can kind of overcome it. But can they overcome it if this is something that lingers into March and all that? Can they survive without having their big men there, on the court, for significant minutes? If he's out for a season or whatever, can they survive without Donovan? Can they survive without, if he's out? Let's say he's straight up out and he missed. Can they survive without him?
I think they can for a few different reasons. One, Tristan Newton is playing the best basketball that he's been playing since he arrived there a season ago, right? A little bit over a year ago, I guess. He's been hooping. Two, Stephon Castle isn't even fully comfortable. I think he's still kind of trying to find his niche and find his role and find out what type of player he can be at the collegiate level, because he's only going to be there for one season. So the more that they play, the more he's going to get comfortable, the more that he's going to understand what he needs to do, what it takes to win, and how to compete in the Big East and how to gel in with his team. And then three,
he played good today against Georgetown.
So he just needs to continue to build confidence, get reps, and again, understand his role on this team. And then Samson Johnson, who was the backup for Donovan Clingan before he got hurt, he's been playing really well too. He's a good lob threat, pretty good rim protector. Like, he just does the little things. And so I think they're going to be fine. The biggest X factor to me is a guy who really played well today is Alex Caravan. He's that 4-man that knocks down shots. He can guard the other team's best player. He can rebound. He can push in transition. You can run plays through him. He does a little bit of everything. He takes a lot of pressure off of Tristan Newton to carry this team. And so the better he plays, when he plays well, UConn looks like the best team in the country, in my opinion. And when he doesn't, they look like a top 20-ish team, right? It's not too far of a drastic drop-off. But when he's playing well again, this team looks like a well-oiled machine. And then going back to Danny Hurley and his staff, they run some of the best actions, in my opinion, in the country. Like, their continuity is crazy. They got a lot of chemistry. They run a lot of really fun backdoor plays, and just they keep the defense on their heels at all times. And so, to me, it's all about just locking up on that defensive end, which I think they've been pretty solid at, but I think they can still get better. And so I'm going to say, yeah, I still think UConn is going to be there when things are all said and done, with or without Donovan Clingan. I'm hoping, of course, that it could be with them.
Yeah. I mean, got Cam Spencer too, who's got a clip too. So I think, it'll definitely hurt if he's down for a significant, longer time, because, like I said, foot injuries linger and all that. And if he has to miss, if they don't have him at all, I think they can still, because they could shoot it. Like I said, Tristan Newton, it's just all Cam Spencer, they could shoot it and all that. Stephen Castle was still, he's getting back. He played solid today against Georgetown and all that. He looked good. Just watching the game, he looked good and all that. So it'll be tougher and all that, especially if they got to face some of these bigger teams and all that. But, Hurley, I think he's approaching elite status as a coach.
Agreed.
And it's crazy because we talked this time last year, they were going through a little funk, and we had talked before before the season started, like, hey, Hurley, he's had some good teams, maybe he's a coach that, on the hot seat a little bit. And they had the little stretch there where they were, I think they lost like 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5, something like that. But I trust him. Like I said, a lot has changed in a year where you're like, nah, we trust about Coach Hurley. And he can get it done, and then he's figured it out. They're still playing good ball and all that. So again, what, they're 15-2 right now. So they're taking care of business. Hopefully Kling is not gone for long and all that. But they got Creighton next, so that's be a game that they definitely could use him going against Kalkbrenner, but who just blocks everything. But they'll be all right. Hopefully he's not gone for long and all that. But I think UConn still, what they could do on the perimeter and all that. Their offense is still lethal and all that. They play good enough defense, that can match their high-powered offense. That they'll be all right. They'll be all right. But hopefully the big man gets back, because they have him. They definitely have a really good shot of repeating. But
for sure.
Hopefully that foot did, because like I said, we talked about it before the season, and we had that. It was like that. This could be a lingering, and it's lingering. So hopefully he's not gone for too long, because they definitely could use him, and that definitely increases their chances of cutting down the nets one more time. All right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about our squads. Let's get into it. Michigan State, the continue up and down season. You guys have improved from the perimeter. You guys at one point it was looking. We talked about some nasty teams. And breaking news: VJ Edgecombe has chose Baylor over the Duke Blue Devils. So VJ, the top 5 recruit, Long Island Lutheran, is going to play for the Baylor Bears. Congratulations to him. Obviously, it sucks. It sucks a little, but I understand with Cooper there. You know, I'm sure at one point he wanted to go there, but Coop reclassified and all that definitely changed some things. But congratulations to VJ. He's going to be go to Baylor, and Baylor going to continue to do some good things and all that. So yeah, VJ will be going to Baylor and all that. So breaking news on that end. But let's get right into it. Michigan State, 2-4 in Big Ten play, 10-7 overall. Right now, bubble. I would say a bubble. I think because of you guys, Michigan State, if we had to say right now, I think somehow you would get in. But some close loss against Illinois, Northwestern, a little bit of a down. Previously you guys were on the streak, lost to Nebraska and all that. But right now, you guys do look better though. Even though you had lost 2 out of 3 and all that, you guys do. It does things look a little bit more crisper than it did early in the season, where it was like, oh, you guys can't hit any shots on the perimeter. There's just nothing was going right. But what are you feeling right now? What's going on with Michigan State? How are you feeling about them right now?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. And yeah, some of these losses have been tough. Like, we definitely had a great chance and opportunity to win that game in Illinois, but it was a tough loss on the road. We were right there in the end. Just a couple of plays went their way, just like it was last year when Matthew Mayer kind of went crazy to close out that game. But I'm actually liking how we're trending, right? Tyson Walker is still hooping, not worried about him whatsoever. AJ Hogarth has been a very solid point guard. Jaden Akins is pretty much doing everything. Our bigs is kind of the only real concern, just because they're not really catching that many things. And defensively, they're kind of been, I won't say lazy with their assignments, but they haven't necessarily been living up to their defensive assignments like that. So I need a little bit better production out of them. The biggest thing is we just need a consistent Malik Hall. When we get a consistent Malik Hall, to me, he's kind of like Alex Carabin. I don't think he's necessarily as good, but when it just comes from an impact standpoint, he can impact the game just as much, right? And so when he's playing well, we look like a well-oiled machine. And I'm screaming from the mountaintop. I am screaming for more Cohen Carr minutes, man. Cohen Carr has been playing really well. I don't know what it is. I know Izzo, he got his thing with freshmen here and there, but Cohen Carr has been playing really well. And when he's in the game, he just impacts winning. He makes all the little plays. He blocks shots. He's a chase down shot blocker. He rebounds. He's always in the right spot. He's always in a position to get a dunk or get a steal, whatever the case may be. He just is really good. Defensively, he can be a little bit better when it comes to closing out, but every freshman goes through that.
He's a freshman, man. Yeah.
It's a freshman thing. So the more he again, just like Stephon Castle, the more he plays, the better he's going to get. So I'm not worried about my team. The biggest thing for us is kind of like what I said earlier. We just can't afford any bad losses. Right now, it's just about stacking wins, getting better. Like Thursday, we play at home versus Minnesota. Minnesota's kind of good this year. We got to win that game. Then we go to Maryland, as you mentioned. We play them on Sunday. Got to win that game in College Park. And then the next test is we got to go to Madison. We need one of these games. We need to win a game versus a top 3 Big Ten team, whether it's Purdue, Wisconsin, or Illinois. We got to get one of those games. And that, when we win one of those games, that's going to be the determining factor of whether we get into the tournament or not. And again, the metrics love us right now. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
All the metrics love us.
And Bedavart, like, they have you guys. You would think you guys were undefeated. They got you top 15, top 10, and they're in their range. So, like, we know that it's there. It's just, and we see it, right? We see it. We know. We're just like, we're waiting. Everybody, it's like we all are waiting, because everybody had thought this was a Final Four team, right? I thought you guys would be the national. I said Duke, Michigan State national championship. Like, these are teams that we will be seeing, in Indiana, and everyone still believes that, because we see it. It's there. So I think we're going to see it. I think we're going to see it. But like I said, you guys got to win. Just win games. It don't even matter how you do it. Just got to get enough wins, because you have the name recognition that's going to help you get over the top, right? Because you guys are Michigan State. You guys, they're not. If you guys have good enough resume, you're going to get in. So at this, like you said, at this point, just stack up dubs and all that. That's all you got to do right now. But yeah, we'll see that.
And my last thing too, real quick, before we go to your team. The main reason why I still believe in my team and why I think the metrics love us is because defensively we've been fine. We've been
you guys are
fine.
straight. Yeah,
It's just
defense
our
is good.
offense has been struggling because we're so dependent on Tyson and then AJ, and then we haven't had that consistency. So that's the reason why I still firmly believe in my team, because defensively we've been really good. We did a great job of guarding Marcus Damas and guarding a couple other guys. So again, it's just about building on that. And I have a feeling my squad is going to be trending in the right direction within the next few weeks.
No, yeah, definitely looking good. I think, like I said, I trust that you guys are gonna figure it out and definitely pull some wins and all that. Let's go talk about Duke, and then we'll finish it off because I know your Rams just kicked off and all that. So we'll talk about Duke quick. We're on a nice little win streak, playing some good basketball right now. It feels like, but for some reason, Georgia Tech just scares the living daylights out of me. Every time we play Georgia Tech, it's like, what is going on? Like, it's a lot closer than it should be. I mean, they had us up, in the first half early, but Flip did his thing and all. Flip's going to be an All-American. Flip is he's carrying us right now. Even though it feels like we're playing these heavy guard lineups and all that. It feels like old school Villanova, and they were playing like 4 guards and all that. And Ryan, like they it's kind of going to that. But Tyrese Proctor back is playing better and all that. But I think this team it's so reliant on Kyle Filipowski. Like, he is their everything. And he's getting better shooting from the 3 and all that. It's so reliant on him to take over that he can't afford a bad game.
Yeah,
that's what worries about me. That's the worry. Yeah, we're playing good and it's a regular season, but come tourney time, if he has a bad game because he's just tired from carrying the team, who's gonna step up? Are we finally gonna see the Proctor that we saw the second half of the season last year? That even when we got thumped by Tennessee, still was holding it down. Proctor's gonna have to. I know he's just coming back from injury. He's gonna have to continue and all that. I know we got relying on a lot of young freshmen at the guard position right now. With Caleb and Jared. All that. So, it's just with somebody, one of these, Sean, we need someone. DJ got to step. We need some size, boss. We need some size, because they just can't rely on all these, just relying on one, Kyle and a bunch of 6'2", 6'3" dudes, So that's the one thing that I'm worried about is just if Kyle's not on, what happens? I know we got Jeremy and all that, but he's gonna be solid, but it relies on Kyle. If Kyle it feels like 30 and 10 every night, but when it gets down to what is it gonna look like when we play Carolina when they got some size and all that? So we win some games and all that, which is good and all that. But who else, someone's got to step up that is coming off the bench. One of these young, Sean Stewart. I wish he could, we could see more from him. But he's young and all that still. And he's a freshman and all that. But he's 6'10" though. And he got the skill. We saw it, so it's like, some guys develop a little differently. We got to wait for him, but right now we rocking with this heavy guard rotation of Kyle. I know Mark didn't play last game and all that, and but what you seeing from Duke right now that you like or dislike?
My 2 concerns is the one that you just said when it comes to relying on Kyle. My other one is the lack of rim protection. I think that's going to be the thing that might end up stinging y'all in the tournament. But outside of that, I feel like the guards been playing better between Jared McCain and Caleb Foster. I think they're starting to finally put together. And the key, as we've been saying, is Mark Mitchell. He's been putting it together. I watched that game when y'all played at Notre Dame. I thought he played fantastic. Y'all need him to keep stacking performances like that. He doesn't necessarily have to be a major threat from the perimeter, but if he can give you 1-3 a game, right, make the defense at least try and play him honestly, I think that's solid.
Just don't play timid, because sometimes when he's on the perimeter, he's too attack the basket, bro. That's your game. You're 6'9". Exactly. Get to the basket.
Simple as that, right? Don't overthink it, right?
Don't overthink it. Early in the season, he was overthinking it way too much, and that's why there was, he wasn't shooting good and it didn't look not right. But recently, these last few games, he's just attacking the back, just getting to the cup. Just do that, bro. You're not a shooter. You're not a perimeter player. Unless it's there for you, that's it. But go do your thing and then just get to the basket. You're 6'8", 6'9". Just attack, bro. That's all we need from you in that aspect.
And again, y'all have floor spaces around him, so he's gonna have room to operate with. So I'm not too worried about him. again, you just need him to lock in defensively, rebound, push the tempo here and there, and just be solid. Again, be confident. Don't hesitate. Don't overthink. Right? Don't psych yourself out. Right? That's the worst thing you can do as an athlete. So I think for the most part, you guys are going to be fine, though, right? You guys should easily be top 3 in the ACC, in my opinion. And I can make the case that y'all probably have the highest ceiling in the ACC. Me personally, I think it's between y'all. I think it's between y'all, Carolina, and Miami. I'm still not counting out the Canes. I know they lost to Louisville.
I can't count out Canes, but they won yesterday. They beat Virginia Tech. They're gonna figure it out too.
Exactly. So I'm not worried about Duke at all. Again, those will be my 2 things. Is like you said, the flip situation and the lack of rim protection. But outside of that, I think you guys have been playing pretty good basketball. Defensively, could be a little bit better, but I just think, again, as I've been saying this entire episode, the more y'all play, the more you'll get connected and learn how to play team defense on a string.
Yeah, like I said, defensively, I understand because they just don't have the big guys like they used to, all that. And like I said, no rim protection really, no. But the offense has been very efficient and all that. So one of the better offenses in the country and all that. So they'll be all right. I feel a little better than I did early in the season about them. Still some things to worry about, but overall, in a good spot and in a winnable ACC too. Like the ACC is very up and down like that, but it feels like it's going to go back to, the 3 teams we thought that would be top 3. I know Miami was in a little bit of funk, but they had a good win versus Virginia Tech yesterday. Like I said, Carolina at top and all that. So we'll be all right. We'll be all right. I'm not as stressed as I was early in the season with Duke, so we'll be all right. But that's kind of going to wrap it up for us. I know, Kev, you're going to watch it, and even though your team's down touchdown already. Sorry if you didn't know that. But it's early, and all that. But yeah, that's going to conclude another episode of Get a Bucket Podcast. We're going to hit another one this week. Like I said, I got some time, all that. Got my voice back, so we're gonna hit up another episode. We're gonna get into more Memphis talk because we need to show Penny his love, give him his flowers because he has done a hell of a job this season with everything going on. He got this team hooping and all that. Maybe we'll have a guest talk about Memphis basketball and all that. We'll work on that. We'll let you know. But on that note, make sure to follow me, Off the Ball Pod. On Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Facebook. Make sure to follow Off the Ball Network on YouTube, where you can catch the show, all the other shows. We got a trivia show going on. That's fun. Shout out to Kev for helping me win the last one and all that, with History College basketball. It's crazy when I was thinking about, I forgot his name already. Terrence Jones. There you go. I saw the face. I knew it. I was like, yo, I see everything. I knew it was like, yo, I know it's Terrence Jones. I know he's on the elite for a little bit. I always wonder why he was on the elite for a little bit because I thought he was good. I was like, God. I was like, no. I was like, oh, I know who's in this. And they were all mad. They're like, oh, no, go for your phone. You could have called Kev and all that. But yeah, make sure to check out the trivia show. The trivia show is fun and all that. So check out. I think we're about to drop that the second episode. First episode, it was me and Cruz. We beat Fresh and Mo and all. So check that out. We got a lot of good shows on there. Make sure to check out Off the Ball Network on YouTube. Give us a like and a subscribe. Check out offtheballnetwork.com. Go subscribe to the newsletter. Go do all that. SeatGeek.com, $20 off first purchase. Off the Ball Network, all caps and all that. And except Kev, what's your handle? I know you always do. You always change your handles and stuff.
It's at Kevo Mufasa 7, man. KEVOOMUFASA 7. Follow me anywhere. I got you.
Make sure to follow him, one of the best college basketball minds of the business and all that. But we're going to do another show this week. Like I said, dive in some more Memphis talk about some of the, we're going to talk non-big, big Power 6 schools and all that. Show them some love because there's some good schools that, could have a chance to do some damage as we approach March, which is not too far behind, not too far. So appreciate everyone who tuned in. Appreciate everyone who has showed support. On that note, be well, be safe, take care, peace out.